Hi folks, did you like Battleship growing up? Boy, I sure did. As a kid, I played it all the time. In fact, I loved it so much, I went ahead online, I bought the old original version that I had back in the day. And it's still a great game. But do you know what? Back in the 70s, they made another game in the same vein as Battleship by Milton Bradley called Subsearch. What? That's a big box. Well, what's it look like? Well, let's find out. Alright folks, so this is Subsearch. Look how big this board is, okay? This is my hand. And look how many levels. This thing is steep. And it goes all the way around. This is red player side. And if you look, I mean, what a gargantuan game, right? Look, that's all yellow side right there to the top down there. There's trays for the little pegs. That's where you put your pegs in there. I'm going to play this from red's point of view, but I will be using... I'll be playing this from, red's point of view, but I'll be using this for yellow's board counter, which would be on the other side. And I'll explain that as I go into it. As you see there at the bottom, they have places for trays for the little pegs, very similar than what you see in the Battleship game. Before you start the game, you're going to have to place your subs in any of these three levels. And you can place them wherever you want. Now, I've placed them more to the front so you could see it, but you can place them in the back as well. Now, you can't move the subs after that, but once it's set, the game starts. Another thing you'll be placing is the C mine here, and I'll get to what that means in a minute. It could go anywhere on the level 100. Of course, it can't go in the same space as a sub. You cannot have two subs on the same space, even though I don't know why you'd even want that. As you see at the top, we have very similar looking battleship ones, ships with the little pegs in them. This doesn't mean that it's sunk. These are depth charges. That's how many they carry on them. And you have a battleship, and I don't remember all the names of these, a cruiser, I don't know, a smaller ship, that may be the cruiser there, I don't know. But each person has one. Battleship carries 4, the next one carries 3, the small ship carries 2. Now you would start right here, up here at the harbor here. At the harbor, and let me just take the camera up so you can see this board, it gives you an exact replica of what is down below. Now, of course, remember, I'm going after his yellow's submarines where he hid them down in there, but I don't know where they are. I don't know where his landmine is either. And then, of course, he is looking for mine up on this board where you see the numbers correspond to where he can see them, and I can see if he's made a hit or not. So how it's going to start off is that both sides are going to move their ships. Now, the rule book is a little confusing on this because it says they can move one ship per turn, or, let me actually show you the rule. It says move any one ship, and each turn may move at its choice of the players 1, 2, or 3 spaces. It almost sounds like it means one ship. We've kind of taken upon a house rule to say, just to make it a little bit more fun, they really simplify these rules in the rule book. So what we've decided to do is we've decided to say that you can move each one of these ships, 1 space, 2 space, or 3 spaces. You get to decide each turn. So that way it makes it a little bit more difficult, puts a little bit more strategy in the game. It's a very simple game, but it is a fun game. So let's say on the first turn, I move this ship 3 spaces, I move this one 2, I move this one 1. Now you can move to the side, upwards, forwards, anywhere you want. And when you stop for your turn, you don't have to drop a death charge unless you really want to. Then of course it'd be the next person's turn. They'd move this one 3, this one 2, this one 1, or whatnot. And they would just move back and forth across the board, dropping depth charges. Now, let's say that I have a guy and he is right here, okay? Well, he is directly over this sub, as you see. Now, when he drops a depth charge, he has 3 choices. He's going to do it. The square here is actually number 6, as you can maybe see on this board here. But this is the number 6. And if he chooses to drop it, he's going to drop it on 6, and then he's got to pick which level. Because you see there's 3 different scenarios that could happen. If he dropped it on level 1, 6-100, that is a direct hit. And if so, yellow on the other side of the board, but I'm going to use these, is going to place this little flag showing that he killed a submarine. Boom, right there. One of my submarines was right there, direct hit, destroyed it. I would remove it from the game. And of course, this yellow flag would be on the other side. This is reserved for red player, but just for training purposes, I'm showing you it on this side. So that one's removed. Now, what if he had said 6-200? Well, he totally misses this one, so I don't have to reveal that one. But this was a near miss. He almost hit me. So I'm going to have to declare near miss. Now, in that instance, he's going to have to use these white and red pegs, and he's going to have to calculate, okay, let me see. That was a 6, so I hit him right here in this corner. That was a miss, but it was a near miss here on 12 and here on 5. So he's going to put red pegs to kind of figure out, okay, his submarine is somewhere there. I hit close around it. I just need to keep looking. So that gives him a hint. Now, what if he had said 6, 300? And by the way, when he does drop a depth charge, he has to remove one of these. But he said 6, 300. All right, well, that is a complete miss. As you see, I have no one there on the level 300. So in that case, I would say miss. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to mark it with 3 white pegs, 6, 12, and 5, and say, okay, there are no subs there. And that's how the game is going to kind of go. Now, they have a simpler version in the game where if you hit a space, then all the spaces, even the spaces catty-cornered from it, are declared miss or near miss. I just play with the regular version of the game, which says anything, vertically or, horizontally, that's what you tell them was a miss or not. So if they hit me and I fell in between the catty-corner space, I would not have to reveal that hit. Of course, they do have simpler rules that said, every space touching that space would be declared a hit or a near miss. Now, that seems a little too simple for me, so we go with the first set of rules that the game provides. One other thing that you can do here, though, is when he drops that depth charge, and let's say he dropped it at 300, total miss, or he got a near miss. If I have a submarine directly above him, I can choose to fire at him using this torpedo spinner. Now, of course, as you see, red is hit, black is miss. So let's see if I get a hit. Oh, I do. Wow, I got a hit. If I did hit him, then that blows his entire ship and takes this ship out of the game. That would be huge. As you see, the odds of hitting are very rare. That's the first time I've ever hit a ship. Usually I miss it. So you want to be careful, because once you shoot and you miss, they know that you are somewhere on one of these 3 levels. Even if I did a direct miss here and you fired at me, I know you're on level 200 and 100, and I'll just stay there and keep dropping charges until I find you. Now, so that would be a last-ditch effort for me to fire back at a ship, but it is available. Now, once a ship has dropped all of its depth charges there, it has to return back to the port here. So you would have to eventually move this ship back to the port to refill all of its depth charges. The other thing is, here's the sea mine here, as you see. You're going to place it somewhere on the board. I have it on the 7 here. You're going to write it down on a piece of paper, keep it over to the side. This is to keep all players honest. And when a player lands on it, not crosses over, like if I went 2 spaces, 1, 2, and crossed over the 7, I don't blow up. Only if a ship stops its movement right above the landmine will you reveal your piece of paper to the other player, showing that is where you placed your little sea mine, and boom, that ship is gone. Now, the point of the game, of course, is to destroy the other player's 3 subs. But an alternate version of how to win the game would be to destroy that player's 3 ships. Now, that's really hard, and I don't think anyone would ever do that, or that, that'd be a very hard strategy to have. But those are the 2 ways to play the game, and that is sub-search. All right, so final thoughts on sub-search. The setup is really impressive. That whole tower, that 3 levels, when I first set it up, I was like, this thing is huge, and I love it. I thought it was so cool. I could only imagine myself as a kid playing this game and being like, this is the best game in the world. Now, it plays a lot like Battleship, okay? Obviously, right? You got the pegs, you're trying to guess where the other person hid their subs instead of their ships. But still, it is a fun game. I love the game. People see the setup of this game and they're like, that looks awesome! And it does look really awesome. It's a vintage game. Of course, they never reprinted it. You can find it for a decent price online if you want it. It just depends, I mean, it's not obviously for the serious gamer, but I like to get a lot of vintage board games, and so this was one that I am so happy to have in my collection because it does feel a lot like Battleship, but it puts a great twist on it. I love how you're dropping depth charges. You're trying to find your opponent into all 3 levels. I love this, you know you're going to get killed by a landmine, probably, if they put it in a smart place. So, and I've never had anyone fire, submarine fire, but wow, I got a hit that time. How unbelievable is that? But the game is super fun, and I'm super happy I have it in my collection. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for today. Until next time, game on!